Let's see if this works. Oh shit. And as my buddy Hipstar would say, and we're live. And we're live. I just figured have a very little tuna salad with you and watch some brainy shit, some somewhat kind of brainy shit. A little Dyer. He's interviewing Weckingball. Figure out this guy's real name, and then they're gonna talk about skateboarding and stuff and how it's changed, which goes into a little bit of this documentary I want to watch about propa Gandhi. I'm trying to figure out like how to get around the algo, you know. I should probably start watching what I say, how I say it. Alright, let's watch it. Fucking Dyer on this, what is this called? Wave something? Something wave? Not his name, but like the whole aesthetic. People have really glommed onto this Knight Rider shit. But I like Jay Dyer. He's a smart man.
20 years ago, 20 years ago, people would have, when Nike was trying to get into skating, they were like, no, fuck Nike. That's some jock shit. We don't want that. Right. And now it's every skater is on Nike SB.
This guy, he works with Sam Hyde now.
Right, so guys, it's not his
Sam Hyde's Gumroad.
It's something to do with audio and live streaming. I have an excellent connection.
Media that he puts out.
I'm going to go ahead and record this as we talk about it, because if I record it, then I can just later on upload the audio if this live stream is too garbage. So we know the recording won't be bad, so I apologize, guys. It's not anybody's fault.
He's
I guess you can blame.
He's going to talk about how skateboarding's changed.
The live stream says excellent connection.
And how the
OBS is working fine. So, and I hear what you're talking about.
Societal changes
I've
contribute.
already started a new window, and it won't work. So
they're all about the LGBT shit now, and they're very
hopefully,
liberal.
by the way, we can get this
skateboarding.
Week I'll be hosting ALEX.
Personally, I think it's good to see more girls skateboarding.
Perhaps
I think that's pretty tight.
JONES.
I think that girls skateboarding is like it makes it kind of new again to me and more interesting.
So basically, countercultures get taken over. They get co-opted. They get turned into being a medium of
skateboarding is just an art form.
The establishment, and
so I don't think it's like a man or woman thing.
If you follow movements or involve in this stuff for a little while, it's really transparent. It's not hard to figure out what's going on, how they do it, how they operate. But people still fall for this because, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but I think that a big part of it is fear. People are really afraid of going against what they see as the mainstream narrative, what they think their friends and family are into. And if they speak out, they're afraid of being ostracized. And so, what check the stream friends and family are into. And if they speak out, they're afraid of being ostracized.
Cool.
So that's why anything that
sounds good,
promoting independence or critical thinking or they're the real enemies. In fact, there was a Pentagon document a few years ago that said that highly motivated, independent, critical thinking individuals are the enemy of the establishment, and they have to be targeted and going after. And so, any of the subcultures, even if the subcultures themselves are kind of like
big brain people, are terrorists,
gamers. People into philosophy, libertarians.
There's a word I probably shouldn't say to trigger the algo.
It has a niche of independence and kind of against the establishment. All of those things have to be covered.
I'm not even probably on the algo's radar yet.
That's what's crazy.
That's totally true. I agree with that. I think the reason that people go along is so they're not to be ostracized, and you know, a lot of times they don't even mean it. It's just they're just going along to get along so they don't get outed.
Subscribe
there
to
was
Jay
a guy
Dyer.
recently, a
Dyer
post
wave.
that made some. He posted a meme. It was like a trombone. You might have seen it, and it's like right in someone's face, and it says, you know, LGBTQ propaganda and me, and everybody was kicking off about how hateful it was and how it was so terrible he did that. So a few days went by, and then I just heard that he posted an apology, and he posted their flag and apologized. And everybody in the comments is like, dude, shut up. Your sponsors told you to do this. So there again, you can't have an opinion. I don't get this thing where if you don't agree with someone, you're a phobic. You're afraid. If you don't agree, you can't have another opinion.
I'm scared of gays now because
why can't people just have different opinions?
Because
not,
I
unless
don't.
you know, of course,
Because I'm not gay, and I don't think that
fine. But if I could just say I don't
it's
like
normal.
that, I'm not afraid. I just don't like it.
Yeah, well, we one thing I've talked about too is that there's kind of a motivation.
I'm not afraid of it.
People are impelled by something, even if they don't understand it, to where they have to go after their enemies. So if you're a normie NPC, if you're a relativist, you might not intentionally have the desire to feel like you have to squash and destroy everybody who disagrees with you. But the irony is that they are impelled to do that.
This out.
And so why is that? Why is it that everybody who's in this sort of the left culture, the relativist mindset, why do they, if they're really relativistic, then, you know, what's true for you is true for you, what's true for me is true for me. Why are they impelled to try to destroy and stamp out their enemies? Because it's a total contradiction with what they're professing.
Look at me,
they're professing that
using
no
OBS and shit.
Nothing is objectively the case, and yet they feel the almost spiritual just possession to stamp out anybody who disagrees with their position. And that's because they're motivated by a totally self-willed self-worship that actually must destroy their enemies. And so it's a spiritual issue, and this is what everybody misses, that relativism is not just a mistaken philosophical position. It's actually a spiritual motivation, and they willfully have to destroy their opposition because as long as their opposition exists, it's a testament to the fact that their position is actually false, right? Because they have this fundamental contradiction that on the one hand, nothing is true, and anybody who says that things are true, I must stamp them out because my position is true. So nothing is true, but my position is true, and it must stamp out everybody who says that there's truth. So they contradict themselves, right? And they're like totally insane. That's why they lose their mind. They go crazy.
Right. Well, there's no logic.
Yeah, it's definitely a spiritual thing.
Logic. So if you explain that to them, they wouldn't even understand.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of debates with people where
all these super lefties.
Not only do they not, like, they start getting mad because they're controlled by their passion.
Right.
Who are atheists, act like there's no God.
You know, I'm ready to kill you. But then they never can.
What's
actually
propelling their spirit to fight for their causes?
Psycho people. But, so I got a question for you. So you get a lot of hate,
spiritual thing for sure.
Spicy smack talkers. Has anybody ever actually like stepped up to you and like followed up on their smack talking?
Damn, I'm hungry.
In real life, no.
Okay.
No.
So it's all just internet. It's all internet crap, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they did, you know, fine. Like I'm fine with that. But no one ever had. Like I've had literal like specific death threats.
Oh,
and
wow.
nobody ever did anything. If the people that have said that to me, if they had seen me in real life,
Damn,
they'd
I
probably
need to
ask
fucking
me for a photo or
shave.
something. They'd be like, "Oh, I was just kidding. You know, I was kidding. That was real funny, huh? Right? When I said I was going to kill your family and you, like
So
some shit like that. It's crazy, dude.
why would anyone death threat you? Like, do you have like a really sick ollie that you can do, and then they're all jealous, or like, why are they death threatening?
That's got to be it. I think it's just jealousy, I guess. There is a bunch of guys that are really.
So stupid.
I perfected my sweat face, dude.
You did. That's fucking creepy, man.
So everybody in the
face
chat,
is stuck like that. Your face will get stuck like that. Keep doing it.
everybody in the chat. I don't know what to do about the sound, so I'm recording it, and then I will re-upload the recorded interview that won't have the sound skip. So sometimes OBS does this bullshit.
This is
I don't know what
the most jacked
I don't know what's up. I
skater
have a
in
strong
skateboarding.
connection.
It's not you,
My
it's-
mic is connected.
He's a buff
it's
guy.
not the connection. It's not you. It has to be OBS. So that's all that's left. So anyway, I'll re-upload, guys. I'll re-upload the non-shitty version.
Maybe people that are listening, their ears are bad.
Maybe they have
their
broken
ears
ears.
updated. Maybe you need an ear update.
Your ears are fucking broke, dude. Update your ears.
So real quickly, to elaborate on that, there's a few guys that are in the skateboarding industry that are very well known. They've been around for decades, that are huge names, and they hate me because I have an audience and I have a fan base, and I didn't go the same way that they did through the brands and get recognition through the brands and then have them validate me. I did it on my own. So in their eyes, I don't deserve to have anything.
Skateboarding's
Wow.
turned
I'm not
into such
real
a
pro skater, although I have sold many professional.
so ugly.
signatures
It used to be
model
so
skateboards.
free and
I guess that's not
anarchic,
up to them, but
and
that's
I don't
a
know.
big problem for them.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Is like why?
Anarchic.
So you kind of did the independent route, and then what makes a professional skater a pro? Just having endorsements, or do you have
Well, to anybody that knows what being a professional is, literally, to the actual definition is if you're getting paid to do something, correct?
right?
But to a lot of these guys that are trapped in like this, and this is funny because you were on my segment info boards, and the one I did before I had you on, I broke down the hierarchy pyramid of the levels of the skateboarding industry.
Right. Okay.
It's like the piss-ons at the bottom that are just getting product, and then it moves up and up and up to the top influencers. So to those guys, you have to. They're stuck in this paradigm that they can't leave that route of attaining being a professional skateboarder. So to them,
I titled it "Boring Brainy Shit." Probably not the best idea.
A big brand that's a solidified brand, and for them to announce that you're pro through them. So that's what it is to them.
Gotcha. So pro is really just a corporate trick.
And this is
to
less
control
brainy
the
than
whole to sell shit.
Right, yeah,
Most J Dyer
keep
talks.
their lock on how everything works, because there's kids, and it's so sad too. If they don't know this, a lot of these kids, there's young kids that are working so hard every day. They're doing the best they can skateboarding, trying to get good footage so they can give it to a company that will say, okay, we'll put you on our team, and one day we might make you pro. So you're not getting paid. You're risking, your body. You're wasting potentially so much time when you could be doing other things that are more important. And for all this, for just maybe one day, you'll have the chance to make like $35,000 a year with no health insurance.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's this big. To me, a huge scam.
Yeah, I think that's
so seedy nowadays.
Thinking back to the way that I approached media was that I wanted to do media in some way, and then I figured out, I'm gonna have to do it independently because all this like normie shit is actually dinosaur level, like going away stuff. So the irony is that the people that have had the most success, I think, in the last few years have been the people that struck out on their own. In fact,
Look at his books.
coming out
You
of,
can
like,
see the ones he's
academic
actually
world, I have a lot
read.
of friends who continued going the route of trying to get their PhD, and they wanted to teach in the universities and all this kind of stuff. And then they started realizing that, guess what? If
He
you're
at least uses
a
the
straight
books.
honky dude,
Probably hasn't read
you're
them
not
all.
wanted in the academic community. So you had a much better chance of like going the route of, having your own channel, doing what I've been doing. And now those people who made fun of me like 10 years ago, like, oh, you're not even going to finish your degree. I'll be publishing papers in 10 years, and you'll be on your podcast with 500 listeners.
I
Now
hate
those motherfuckers
academics,
don't even have a
dude.
job, dude. They're coming to me. Being
So
like,
many
"Can I come on
teachers
your
and shit I
podcast?
meet
Oh, I'd like to get people on my Patreon because
They're
I've
so
written a lot of
cocky.
essays and I'm starting to
Friends
do
I
podcasts."
had
Dude,
that I
told you
grew
10
up with
years
that
ago
became
to
teachers.
do what I'm doing, and you didn't do it.
They're so
Anyway,
fucking full of
so,
themselves because they
guys,
got their
yes, I
degree
know
and
this
whatever
sound is shitty. We're
bullshit.
gonna have to
They're not. Some
upload
of them
the
aren't
recording
even.
later.
I mean, there's some that.
Shout out to all the nerds that
like
did
an
it.
my
I
ex
should
of mine
still,
that
and,
became.
let's get back over
Thought
here
she was gonna be a
to-
teacher. She
get
don't
distracted
even
by
use
these
it.
nerds
It's
in the
like
audience.
Yo,
it's
listen,
so hit or
nerds,
miss.
you know the audio's bad. Get your fucking ears cleaned out.
Break.
He's gonna post it later.
Oh, we should just scream or do dog whistles really loud and just go ahead and break their ears so then they can go get new ears. So you're out there in this world. How long have you been a skater? And it seems like the
Dyer's
internet
an
sees you
academic.
as a professional skater,
That
even
seems
though you're
like a
not
fucking.
in
He
professional
seems
skating
like a normal guy.
terminology world,
But
right?
he's smart as fuck.
I mean, are you as good as a pro?
Yes,
You could
that's
argue.
Why, that's why I
People in circles.
people will debate this. It's the people that don't agree with how I got what I have. They will say that I suck, but they know they're lying. They know they're lying. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the reason I got as far as I did, because I was never, making these videos and doing like a skateboarding comedy and talking shit, and then I'm no good. Like, I made the stuff, it got popular, and then they were like, wow, this guy's actually really good. So that's what gave the validity for me to say what I say.
Pee.
So when you smack talk, you have stuff to back it up. Would you say that your smack talking is an art form? It seems to be.
Definitely an art form, and also,
Dude,
I would like to say
weckingball is
that I
fucking
don't,
funny.
I really don't seek this out at all. I never did. It was kind of like the way it started was I was just doing my weightlifting and doing my
This guy's
skating.
funny
I
as fuck.
I would post gym selfies, just flexing, stuff like
Go
that.
pay
and people would just
$5 a
come on there
month
and be
for
like,
Sam Rhodes.
it would
Sam
get
Hyde's
around
Gum
and
Road.
Look at this idiot. This guy's
It's
such
worth
a
it.
douchebag.
Yeah, right.
And I would be like, all right, buddy. Well, really, blah 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 blah. So it's just they come find me and then I roast them and then send them back. You know what I mean? I don't really seek anything out. They kind of they fall in my hands.
Word. So I had a few things I had written down here to ask you, and actually I don't have much on here except that because it just says the note says make up some questions and then ask them. Say some stuff to sound cool. That's really all that's on here. So, what did
That's
you?
all I do. That's all I do, right?
So I hear you. Yeah, I heard you were an Alex fan, and so how long have you been woke to what's really going on? Would you say you're totally woke in a sense to what's going on? Was that a process out of the skating world, or was that like your own path?
Sorry to say that I don't like woke. I know you probably don't either, but it's like it's so tough because I think that term has been hijacked and the meaning has been changed, just like a lot of other things like phobic has been changed. That used to mean that you're afraid. Now it means that you're like hateful or intolerant. Like gay, that used to mean something else. There's so many things that they changed the meaning of the word. But I didn't find out about any of this, truth through skateboarding. I think the earliest stuff I got onto was when I was, probably like junior high. Just going, like when YouTube was kind of new and just going into, oh, this video looks really weird, let me watch this, and then just going into like a YouTube hole.
And you were heavy into that Magic the Gathering community, right? That's what you were up to.
Yeah.
You were slamming down pogs, and people were like,
I did have pogs. I did not Magic though. Never.
You're about my brother's age, so I think you guys were both
32.
doing pogs. Yeah. He was a pogger.
I had some sick slammers, bro. Let me tell you.
So did he do.
Yeah.
So did you know, by the way, that Bitcoin comes out of the Magic the Gathering community? Isn't that weird?
What?
Yeah. So they would actually give out Bitcoin as awards at Magic the Gathering tournaments, and just so there's literally
it was big, huh?
Yeah. So you could win like 5 Magic the Gathering cards, or you could win like 100 Bitcoin. So you imagine being the dude that got first place and won 5 Magic the Gathering cards, and then like the number 5, like fat stinky ass nerd dude got like $100 million from Bitcoin. Anyway, do you have? Are you into crypto, the crypto space? I've been wanting to branch out more and talk about the crypto space. Are you into that at all?
You know what? I have friends that told me that to get into it, and I started, and then I kind of just, didn't really keep up on it. I'm so split between what's going on with this because, part of me wants to believe that it's it's like a new currency that.
Right.
It's
like a
it's
blockchain.
untraceable, like type shit like that, right? But then the other part of me thinks this is how they're gonna issue the world currency, and if you don't have it, you're fucked. And so it's like, and then the other part of that whole dilemma that I have with that is that to me, I actually have even a problem with like money in the bank. Like,
only got like a
digital,
10-second delay.
Just like a picture of how much money I have.
It's
I have
not
money
bad.
in the bank, but it irks me.
Not bad
Because
at all.
it's not. I don't have it in my hand. It's not gold. You know what I mean? Like I don't have it, and that's the same thing that I think about Bitcoin is, what if someday they're just like, oops, it's gone. We don't wait. What? You didn't have that many Bitcoin. What are you talking about? See, the guys that did the hack on the hackers, we know that.
It's true that cryptocurrency, it relies on the internet going. I mean, people talk about trading pieces of paper that have codes written on them and shit like that. It's possible with Bitcoin. But in my opinion, the thing about crypto is, it relies on the internet. It seems to rely on the internet, but so many things in the future are going to rely on the internet. Just make sure to try and buy some things that don't rely on the internet. But you can make a shit ton of money in crypto. I like crypto.
What are they called?
We're gonna get to a point where the internet can't go.
Gas pipeline
It can't go out. It has to.
Yeah, those guys.
You mean? I think the other acronym.
The internet
is
will
like
have
E,
to persist.
F, B, and then an I. Or
Otherwise, it will
like
fuck
that.
everybody up.
Yeah, well, they're definitely real hackers. First of all, and so they supposedly got this payment through crypto, and then then the FBI went and they hacked their wallet and took it back.
Yeah, right.
So that either means to me that you did it. It was them who did it, and it's bullshit. Or the FBI can hack anybody's crypto wallet.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here?
Well,
I would personally prefer to have like gold and ammo and like food, things like that.
Yeah. Get your money in crypto and then buy that shit.
No, I agree with that. I think we should have
that's how I look
multiple
at it.
things. So if you did have crypto, the best thing is to have it in cold storage, which can't really hack that if it's off the internet. But that would be the best route if you did have crypto. But I definitely
buy a little hard wallet.
Private server or something? How's that work? See, I don't know too much about it.
No, you can have
that's
a cold.
Yeah, you don't even know about it.
It's like a zip drive, but it's like a wallet.
His buddy Sam Hyde's in crypto.
It's stored. It's physical. It's stored off the internet, and the only way to access it is to have the keys memorized or to have the actual little zip drive wallet, basically.
I feel like if you're not in crypto right now, you're kind of behind the times. You need to play around with a little crypto, make some trades, and send and receive some finances through crypto, and then you'll get it. Once you do that, you're like, oh shit, this is revolutionary.
Too bad those hackers didn't have that. You'd think they would have that.
Well, one reason, so it does take a little bit of time, right, to get it off the internet and then to put it back online. So they might have wanted to not have it in cold storage so that they could easily transfer it somewhere else.
Static, come back, Static.
There's nothing that's like
we can be friends again.
If you have
just
a
don't
virus
say crazy fucking
buried somewhere,
disgusting
shit. The government can still give us your booty. You can still.
Yeah, but they have to come get it from me. They can't just go they can't get it from me from elsewhere. They have to come.
Well, but see, you can have your Bitcoin in a wallet that nobody has access to except for if you know the keys. So you can just have the memorized keys in your head. By the way, you better not forget it. And then if they come asking for it, oh, sorry, I don't remember my keys. You see,
Ooh.
that's the advantage of that.
Yeah,
But
and then it's useless to
sounds
take
good,
your
but
wallet.
then, what do you think about if they have the comprehensive cyber attack and the power grid shuts down?
right.
Then
So
what?
I think that's
You
not
know?
right. No, I understand, and there is definitely
The grid will come back online eventually
to
too.
be enacted to shut things down for a while. But
you'd be
my
out of
response to that is that I don't
usable
think they built
funds.
all this infrastructure to get rid of the internet. They're eventually going
There
to
you
have the internet turned back on if they did that.
Exactly.
Just turn it off to fuck shit up for a little while.
Exactly. Yeah.
and go back.
By the way,
Makes
there's a bunch of TV shows I just remembered where that happens.
Like that? I
you
haven't
probably
watched
don't
this
watch a lot
yet.
of
I just
TV,
said
but I
it, and then
remember
he
back
said
in
it.
the 2000s there was a J.J.
Used
Abrams.
to.
Does that
There was
make
a
me as
J.J.
smart
Abrams
as
show
Jay
called
Dyer?
Revolution in
Damn.
like the 2010, 12 era where the whole internet and electricity grid goes down. There's a show called Jeremiah with Luke Perry where everything collapses like that. There's a show with Skeet Ulrich from Scream called Jericho, where everything shuts down and America gets a great reset. So there's actually all these shows in the 2000s about like a great reset cyber polygon scenario. I just remembered.
Fuck TV
Anyway.
shows.
Um,
Shut up, Jay.
so what you're basically saying is that we need like a garbage pail kid based economy. Like if we could tie a crypto to garbage pail kids or pogs, you're saying that would offset the global reset. Is that what you're saying?
I'm basically saying that if you could get crypto, and integrate that with like maybe like some 1990s like Hook, the movie, some merchandise from that movie, toys. like the Hook, remember, and it had the claw and then the saw.
It's gonna be integrated into fucking everything.
If you could integrate Bitcoin into that.
You're talking
Not
about
Bitcoin,
Robin
but
Williams.
cryptocurrency.
Hook.
Robin Williams,
Fuck
Hook.
Bitcoin.
Steven
Yes.
Spielberg running on little boys Hook.
I just want to say that. Fuck Bitcoin. Bitcoin opened the door for cryptocurrencies, but it's like, I mean, and I don't know, not fuck it. If you can get some, I don't know. It seems shady to me. I don't trust it anymore. I'd rather go with like the Ethereum seems like they have a deal with the government or something, like they're in cahoots or something. I don't know. It's real weird looking at this XRP lawsuit and the way that they just let Ethereum off the hook, but XRP is like not being let off the hook at all. But it's also impressive by the Ripple company, the way they've handled the SEC. The SEC is just, they took Ripple, the company that created XRP, to court. And they want something from them, and it's probably going to end in a settlement. But it's like, it doesn't seem like the Security and Exchange Commission of the United States is going to win this battle against Ripple Labs. It seems like Ripple bested them. They outsmarted them. Personally, I think it's because our government's full of boomers who don't know shit about this technology. And Ripple, they're boomers too, but they do know shit about technology, and they're developers and shit, and they snuck in underneath the government and they created XRP, which is like this innovative as fuck technology it's what's called a bridge asset. So a bridge asset creates a bridge from one place in the world to, say, America to China. You take US dollars, exchange it into XRP tokens, send it to China, it converts to Chinese yuan, and then that person has that money. That's the bridge factor. XRP is a bridge asset. That's why it's my favorite. XRP seems like something else, man. But it's revolutionary. It's super innovative, and the banks need that kind of tool to use. It takes like 3 to 5 days to wire money, when now with a cryptocurrency, it can take a few minutes to wire funds from USA to China. Like, crypto is the future.
Probably the best movie ever made, for sure. What's your favorite movie? Do you have a favorite movie?
I don't. I have a lot of favorite movies, and I feel like I shouldn't say one. And I feel like if I do say one,
okay, we all know Brokeback Mountain. So, other than that,
Great underrated film.
I feel like whichever one you're going to tell me, you're going to be like, oh, did you know that? Blah, 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 and fucking totally.
Did you know that that's all about programming you to love little kids? No, I'm not. I'm not going to say that.
Oh well. I like True Romance a lot. That's a good movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's a classic. Yeah, Gary Oldman's a good. Gary Oldman plays the white man acting like a ghetto man, if you know the word that I'm avoiding using. He's a great white black.
You know who Riff Raff is? You know the rapper Riff Raff?
I know that Codeine Castle. Riff
That's
Raff
who that reminds me of.
Codeine Castle.
I think Riff Raff stole his shtick from that guy.
Exactly. And if by the way, if you've not, you've probably seen it, but
I like Spring Breakers.
Harmony Korine did that movie that's almost totally based on Riff Raff.
Spring
Breakers. Have you seen it?
Oh right, yeah. I think I think Riff Raff was trying to sue them.
Yeah.
And then James Franco was like, "Oh, I'll just become friends with him and he'll let it go." So then that's what they did.
Yes. And Riff Raff's funny. I remember when Riff Raff was brand new and nobody could tell if he was serious or if it was a joke or what it was.
Yeah.
But
I didn't even realize for the longest time that
there
Riff
was
Raff,
a funny, like a comedy clip one time where Riff Raff
came out of a
highfalutin, like an art show,
like an MTV dating show.
And I don't know if it's still on live, but it's actually really, really
or
high value comedy because he's just going around talking about this abstract art, making
like
fun
they
of
had
it.
The Flavor of Love
And
with Flavor
nobody
Flav.
knows what he's talking about or what he's. So it's a
Riff Raff might have been on Tila Tequila or whatever. I think.
Art show. That's a classic.
He's on one of those shows.
That guy's cool because he
where he came from.
How I told you, maybe it got cut off because it was when the audio was still screwy. But I told you that I don't want to be like, oh, that guy that skates. Like Riff Raff does music, but he does so many other things. It's like he's kind of just like an entertainer, really.
Yeah, exactly. And once I saw him being funny, I kind of had a little bit of respect for him because I knew he wasn't totally.
Yeah. Right.
Riff Raff's
well, he was on that like reality show first. It was called I think Love and Hip Hop or something.
Oh, Love and Hip Hop.
No, sorry, From G's to Gents. It was called.
Oh, that's what it was.
They took guys that were real hood.
Yeah.
Really,
G's to Gents.
No manners.
That's where Riff Raff came from. That put him on the map.
Respectable dudes that
wore
suits and they spoke.
That sounds pretty funny, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was on there
Okay.
before anything, and when I saw that, I thought he was dead ass serious too. So he's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Spring Breakers, it actually is a pretty good film. Harmony Korine.
It's a good, weird movie.
I tried to get him to come on.
It's kind of a long movie.
What is the programming behind that?
Like it's probably only 90 minutes, but it feels long.
But let's see. So Tristan,
is it too much to reveal?
No, let me think. So Tristan
There's
and
some babes in it, though. Selena Gomez, I think, isn't it?
Little bitty AIDS. We did a show.
I think she shows her tits
and we broke that down. I'm trying to remember what we said. We did a co-op episode on Under the Silver Lake.
There's some unknown chick
about conspiracies in pop culture. If you haven't seen it, and we did.
Actually, I think it's Harmony Korine's wife.
What I remember is that it's just kind of a critique of like nihilistic.
Dude, she's gorgeous.
Like just totally degenerate pop culture. And that the James Franco character is kind of like, I mean, he really is a thug kind of dude, and he really is living his his lyrics, and then he is like this mid-tier dude, and he recruits these like skanky like chick. Well, they're not skanky chicks. They're like
right. They were on
They're
spring
good
break.
girls.
they're like cheerleaders. He recruits them to be his thoughts in his videos or whatever. And then the video, it just ends with him like doing this like drug heist thing where they go and shoot up some other drug dealers.
It's a fucking cool
so
movie.
I think it was just a critique of the.
If anyone hasn't
the
watched a Harmony Korine
result
film,
of thug culture being,
I would start with that or
kind of
Kids.
instantiates itself into reality that
Kids
it really
is
does
a really good
regenerate
movie
culture.
as well.
At least that's how I read
think
it.
that was
So
Harmony
I don't think it was
Korine's
like a totally
first
negative
film.
message.
It does end badly, so
Yeah.
would you not think that the message is like, yeah, don't do that?
Well, yeah. So it ends with like a Britney Spears song or something like that, and they're playing the Britney Spears song when they go and shoot up the other drug dealers, and So I don't think it has a good message. I think it's just showing like the
Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera song. It's like
I'm
the
not saying
theme
that
song
makes
of the
Harmony
movie.
Korine
It's
like a
pretty
virtuous
funny.
dude, because if you remember, he did Kids back in the day, and Kids was all about like degenerate skater culture. Do you remember that?
Oh, he knows about Kids.
So what's his name? Tully, and then the other dude. They were skater dudes, and they went around like just wreaking havoc in one night and spreading the AIDS.
Tully and Casper.
that was about the AIDS virus, and like they didn't even care that they were giving people AIDS. And I mean that was all just a bunch of propaganda. But I remember
now it's legal to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly, and it was a big deal at the time. That was a Disney company movie. That's why it was so scandalous. Was that the company? It was, I guess, Miramax or something like that, but that was owned by Disney at the time. So anyway, who knows what his motivations are? But he's in the Nashville area. That's why I said that.
Harmony Korine, he's just a degenerate filmmaker.
How did you get into what you do? Because it seems very different. Like, were you just working, like, one day you had a job and then it was just like a regular job, and then you were like, you know what? I'm fucking tired of all these symbols. and you're just exploded, and you just went out and started researching.
I got an email from the KGB, and they were like, "Would you like to come work with us?" And then I went and met Dugin and Putin. No, I was studying in college philosophy and film, and I wanted to do film and philosophy related stuff. I didn't really know.
Jay Dyer is great. He talks about all the.
And I thought, well, I'll just have to be a professor, I guess.
Predictive programming in movies and television and stuff.
Work that.
It's good stuff. I don't watch enough of him, but I did tonight. I am tonight.
A psycho leftist dude, and I learned really quickly that
keeping myself accountable by streaming so that I watch the whole thing.
Into academia unless you go along with the dogmas, the narratives.
Because I love wecking ball. I love weck
quickly
too.
In my 20s that I probably wasn't going to be very welcome in academia, so I just took a lot of my I've been writing blogs and stuff on the side for fun. I just took a lot of that, started doing podcasts, started doing videos. And kind of like what you said with your path, like just doing my own media, I started realizing a lot more success with that than trying to do it kind of the old route of, I guess I'm going to try to go, get a job in radio. I'm going to try to work at a TV station. All that stuff I was noticing was kind of like dead. So.
But what I'm saying more specifically is I don't think in college you were being, or maybe you were, and I didn't know they did this, but I didn't think that you were being like learning about sex cults and symbols in film.
Well, actually,
like, isn't that you were studying, but then when did you come to that?
That comes after college.
Do you know what I mean? Was that in school?
That comes after college when you still want to feed your brain.
A lot of stuff outside school. Obviously, my mom was a librarian and an editor, so I grew up.
When you're addicted to knowledge
and reading a lot from being a kid, and surprisingly, actually, in my college courses, we did have a few professors who were fairly aware of things that were going on. So, for example, I had a history and film professor who was really into Oliver Stone. I don't agree with everything that Oliver Stone has in terms of his political views in his films, but he does have a lot of conspiracy content in his movies, and so that kind of originally got me on the path of looking
Whenever
at.
I hear Oliver Stone, I think of Roger Stone.
I was also taking a lot of philosophy classes that dealt with symbolism, and so I was doing that, and at the same time doing my own research, just online and
because Roger Stone is creepy. He looks like fucking
2000s, right after the big 9 event.
Jimmy.
So I learned about the New World Order in '98,
What was his name?
and then got into symbolism and that kind of stuff, studying literature because obviously
Roger Stone looks
symbolism
like
plays
Jimmy
heavily into
Savile
lit. That's
of
my
the BBC.
Undergrad and graduate degrees in literature.
The creepy necrophiliac pedophile guy.
You notice a lot of stuff in lit, and then you can apply that to other
Looks way
genres
too much
of art,
like him.
movies, and then you start to pick up on symbolism in movies, and then put symbolism in pop culture. So yeah, it was all kind of worked together, just from different interests.
That's how I got onto all the conspiracy shit, because I was in school for advertising and marketing, and after I was almost done, I didn't finish because all the pressure from school and other shit that was going on in life, I was like all fucking like suicidal. So I didn't finish, but I was only like a course or two away, or a semester or two away from getting my bachelor's in graphic design, marketing, and advertising. It was a real weird degree, but they made it possible because I don't remember exactly, but once I got out for a while and started looking at things going on in the world and noticing more and more, the propa Gandhi going on commercials and TV and the media, I was like, fuck that career. I'm not going to contribute to this. I don't even want to go back to school. I already learned what I needed of graphic design. I'll just stick to that. I'm not trying to... Advertising and marketing is just brainwashing now. That's all it is. Now with all the info that's out there in the world to get on people, and they do get it, it's just complete brainwashing and taking advantage of people, really. It's like mind rape almost, man. They just take this information that has been leaked over spending so much time on the internet, clicking the things you like, clicking off of things you don't like, and then over the years, all that shit gets filed together into files on people, and whether there's a name on it or not, there's an ID number to it. That is someone's likes and dislikes on a variety of different types of things, and marketing companies get that information and they use it, and they basically just target us. They're like, this area of people spends their money on these things. That's what we'll market towards them, and we'll sway their opinions on issues, social issues, in the advertisement for the thing they love so much. It's just real fucking insidious, advertising and marketing.
So you took the skill set that you learned and then you applied it to something else and they're not happy about it. They regret that you're exposing and you're showing what this agenda is.
I think so. I mean, so my professor was mad because I was writing these critiques of basically globalism, and so he was like, "Oh, that doesn't exist," and I'm like,
Can't say that anymore."
Right. So he's like, "It doesn't exist." I'm like, "There's countless foundations and groups that exist to promote global governance," and so the guy was like, "So if you keep talking about that, I ask you to leave my class." And I'm like, I was like, dude, the school's motto is critical thinking, free thought, right? I'm like, and he's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
So and I was like, you realize I've got in my backpack right
People
now.
Aren't comfortable when you start talking to them and exposing the framework.
He tried to call my bluff, and he's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. So I literally did. I'm not joking. I pulled out Tragedy and Hope out of my backpack, which I literally had it that day. It was a 1,300-page tome by Carol Quigley. And so we actually got into this huge debate in class. And I just totally humiliated this guy. And he's like, get out of here. You're done. You're not going to get a master's from this university, blah, 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 blah. So that's how we almost got to a fist fight because I mean,
I
you're
would
paying
fucking
thousands of
fight
dollars to these shitheads, right? To
Right.
give you a piece of paper saying that we at Shithead Liberal University give you the right to go ahead into society and say that you're smart. And I'm just like, no, F you, dude. I'm not.
Right. You have to validate you.
I walked out, like right in the middle of my master's thesis. I just walked out. I never went back. And it was the greatest decision I ever made to go do my own media.
And he went to him on during his like the final stage of like education. He's like his teacher probably was some soft lib who fucking put it off for as long as he possibly could, and then he's like, well, I gotta do it sometime, and went on the last fucking possible day that he was probably even gonna see Jay Dyer. I bet you.
My own work, I've had way more success, made a lot more in terms of income than even I would if I had become a PhD. I'm doing better now than if I'd been a PhD. So thank God for all of that turn of events, because I'm much happier doing what I do now than listening to a bunch of just totally just scummy people. They're literally like the worst human being. The worst human beings on the planet are the professors in the universities. I'm totally convinced of that.
I think they get really burned when you're better than them, or if you have one up on them. It's just
did
really
you see
gets them going.
They just arrested a shitty professor for starting all those fires in California.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I'm sitting here, I'm reading this. I'm reading that article. I'm like, dude, that I have said for so many years, the worst human beings in the country are the professors. Not every professor.
I think they were like following him, like watching him do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's who professors are, man. They're like the scum of the earth. If you don't know why the country's collapsing, it's because you send your kids to be trained by these goobers.
Right.
And they brainwash your kids. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the girls that look like, attractive 18-year-old girls graduating high school, and then they go.
Oh, they graduate and they have
before and after.
They got pink hair and tattoos.
Lord of the Rings goblins.
Yeah. They have like purple and green hair, like
shaved half of the head.
They've got septum boring
gauges everywhere. I was at the mall yesterday with Jamie, and we were laughing because literally the whole country looks like Hot Topic now.
That's what, right? That's the whole country. When they do that, that's just those women. They are empowering themselves as females. That's what they need to do. Don't you know that?
I was going to ask you about chicks, like feminism and all that. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? I know you're on
feminism.
I know you're one of the internet's top female women activists.
I don't even think about feminism, huh?
You're an ally, right?
I really don't give a damn about any women besides my wife and my mom. But but do I have any opinions on feminism? I think
you're a fan of the feminism.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I think women.
That's how you do it. You just say it with a smile, a big laugh. Say it while laughing.
They need to be in all the armed forces.
I think every woman.
Infantry.
Yes, like Israel does. They have a mandatory service where you have to go. I think every woman should have mandatory black ops training and service.
Yes. I think that a woman should box Floyd Mayweather. I think that women should be able to do anything that men do,
I think
I think that they should get paid more than men.
Every woman should enter the octagon at least once with you and Sam Hyde. At least
me and Sam.
Make women the breadwinners.
I think Joe Rogan should just get in the octagon with Sam and stop.
Well, we've been calling for that for at least a year. So when is Jogan gonna man up and fight Sam Hyde? That's what I want to know.
He's scared.
Yeah. Now.
Well, yeah. I mean.
What was that like, dude? Just hanging out with Sam Hyde in person, creating on at least once with you and Sam Hyde. At least
with me and Sam.
Yes.
I think Joe Rogan should just get in the octagon with Sam and stop.
Well, we've been calling for that for at least a year. So when is Jogan gonna man up and fight Sam Hyde? That's what I want to know.
He's scared.
Yeah. Now.
Well, yeah. I mean.
What was that like, dude? Just hanging out with Sam Hyde.
Sam Hyde would demolish
creating
Joe Rogan.
fabulous video content for consumers.
He's so much bigger
what
than
was
him.
that like?
That was really fun, and it was really strange.
I
also,
wish
too, but,
Sam Hyde
I mean,
could go on JRE.
You know,
But I don't even watch
Sam's
Joe
a really nice
Rogan
guy.
anymore.
I met him. You know,
He's
we
like
hung out
fully
like
on
3
Spotify,
times
I
over
think,
the past probably 3 years. But
Strange.
you know,
I don't know. Maybe I just unsubscribe.
it's strange. Well, you know, I really didn't not expect it because I know how people could look at me and think that they're gonna come hang out with me and I'm gonna be like punching walls and shit and you know like smashing things and
Attacking skateboards.
Kicking house fans.
They're like, oh wow, this guy's pretty cool. So I didn't really
floor
expect
fans
Sam
and
to
shit.
be like a total psycho. But he's a really nice guy. He's very generous, and he's really smart. So yeah, it was really fun making the videos, you know, that we made, and yeah, I mean, he's pretty much just like as soon as I met him, it was like we already knew each other. So
Yeah,
it was weird too because you know I know Sam's been doing his comedy for like I mean probably well over 10 years. Probably more, like on YouTube, probably like 15, maybe even more.
Sam Hyde is
I
the
didn't really
new.
know about him too well
What's that fucking
until
guy's
like
name?
maybe 4 years ago. My buddy was showing me his show that got canceled.
Andy.
Showing me clips of that world peace, and I thought it was just like really funny. And then
Whoever the
watching
guy,
more and
I
more of
forget his
stuff
name right now. Whoever the
like,
guy Jim
next
Carrey
couple
played
years.
in
I'm
Man
like, wow,
on
this
the
guy's
Moon.
like actually so funny.
right.
Why can't there be more people
I
like
can't
this guy?
remember his name.
You know, this is very rare.
Andy.
I was just sorry, I was
No, you
Andy
to wrap
K.
this up.
I think.
I was watching YouTube videos of him like doing rants with my wife, and I was just like, I swear I said to her, I was like, why am I not friends with this guy?
Oh.
This guy's funny.
Andrew
then
Kaufman. Andy Kaufman.
Literally, like you know, not
Sounds
even a
weird
week
to say.
later,
I think.
Followed me on Instagram, and I
think
just
that was
like,
his
what the
name.
fuck? I messaged him, hey, you want to go to Bam's house? Let's go to Bambi's, and that was it.
Yeah, I remember it. So I liked Tim and Eric back in like when they were really popular in the early 20-teens, and then I remember my friend sent me some clips. Hey, he was like, hey, if you like Tim and Eric, you should check out these guys. And it was before the show. It was when they were on YouTube, and it was just $1 million stream. And I was like, at first I didn't get it. I was like, because I saw some of Charles Carroll stuff, and it was really abstract, and I was like, I don't understand. I mean, I like Tim and Eric. I like the really wacky stuff. And then because I started watching it back when it was on.
I like Tim and Eric. I feel like in the
whatever,
2000s.
before they got canceled. And then I was like, oh, dude, this shit is actually really funny. But anytime that it's like music, sometimes when you hear something the first time, right, and it doesn't click with you.
Tom
and then
Goes
like
to
the
the
next
Mayor.
one you hear, it's like, oh, dude, that's actually a really good song. It was the same thing with Sam, where I didn't really get it at first, and then I realized they were kind of in the vein of Tim and Eric. I was like, no, actually, MDE and Sam, they're better than Tim and Eric. Like Tim and Eric
honestly,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this,
they're
but
weird now.
Tim had a big part in getting him kicked off that show.
I know about all that. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of that reason was because they took his time slot on Adult
Well,
Swim.
and Sam, they were funnier. That's the problem. And
then that's why they took their time slot, because they were better than him.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, the first time I saw MDE, I wasn't like, I did not get it, but it was just like so much to take in that I kind of was like missing stuff because it was just so much so quick.
MDE is the best.
Right.
You really have to pay attention.
So the chat is really high level IQ chat right now, debating my height, and so we know that you're at least what 5'4", 5'3".
I know your height.
By the way, guys, I'm actually 4'5", so I'm 1 inch taller than Joe Rogan, and everybody's debating my height. And so I'm glad to see that my high IQ nerd chat is concerned with what matters. But how do you know my height, by the way? Are you a creeper stalker, dude? How do you know?
Nah, I'm just really good at guessing people's height.
What's your guess?
5'9.5".
Nope, you're way off, dude. You're like, you need a. Are you? Has the circus hired you for this talent? Because
let me guess again. 6'1".
You're close.
All right, I'm done guessing.
I'm 6'2", dude. Nice try.
Okay. Nice try.
So what? So you're? I'm gonna say what? What are you? 6'5"? Or you look like a tall dude in the videos.
No, I'm not. I'm not as tall as you.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you wearing like
that would make Sam
shoes,
Hyde a
moon
monster?
boots? Are you like? Because you look tall in the
He is
video.
big, but
Maybe you're like on your tippy toes every time.
No, I don't do that. No. I'm 5'10". I'm not 6 foot tall, man.
Okay.
But I don't know why. I think a lot of people think that. I don't know why. I meet people sometimes and like, oh, I thought you'd be taller. I'm like, why?
Yeah. That's just internet bigotry, dude. Just people making assumptions about height, which is really.
Well, I actually identify as 6'3".
There you
so.
go. I've been thinking all this like identify as stuff. Like, what if you just took it to the next level and identified as another person? Like, what if I identified as you?
That's coming soon. You know,
right? Yeah. Right. Are you okay with?
I identify as the bank teller that works here. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you okay with super chats?
What?
So on YouTube, there's
Hey,
super
okay
chats. We
with
got questions from the audience. Are you okay with taking audience questions?
Hey, that's fine. I'm not very familiar with YouTube stuff. I mean, I have my channel and I kind of just threw stuff on there, but I don't really keep up on it.
So I want to remind everybody, if you guys would follow Weckingball over on his IG, and I've got that link in the show description. You can follow his Instagram. He puts up a lot of hilarious content all the time. Although he is taking a.
The fuck happened? Oh, that's the end of that. Okie dokie. Shit. That was wild. It was a very abrupt ending to that shit. Let's see if I can get this to fucking work. Come on, dang. Fuck. Maybe, gotta have the Bluetooth on. Why is this thing gotta be so croak? No, I had a documentary on something called Tavistock that it's basically just a giant propaganda machine, but it might not work. It's something from BitChute.
Russian loyalist who was anti-communist. He was a Russian general and claimed to be well-versed in international affairs and predicted huge world events. In 1902, he warned kings and dukes
Oh, hey, what's up?
assassination attempts.
I'm just messing around with OBS and stuff. How's it going, Critter? Good. Nice to meet you. I had a documentary on Tavistock I wanted to show. I might get like knocked or something for it. Oh shit.
So who is this secret group of Jews? Spiridovich was talking about the Committee of 300. Walter Rathenau, a German politician, once stated, 300 men, all of whom know one another, guide the economic destinies of the continent and seek their successors from within their own environment. Dr. John Coleman was a British intelligence officer who gained access to a private British museum in London. It was here that Coleman discovered the highly classified documents of Tavistock. It angered him so much, he spent 5 years reading and deciphering them and wrote the book, The Tavistock Institution of Human Relations, Shaping the Moral, Spiritual, Cultural, Political, and Economic Decline of the United States of America. Tavistock was secretly started in 1913 and was funded by the British monarchy, the Milner Group, the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds. Tavistock's first purpose was to create propaganda to start a war between Britain and Germany. The motivation behind the war was inspired by Germany's rapid progress on surpassing Britain with economic power. Tavistock's second purpose was to infiltrate America by establishing a centralized bank, removing the gold standard, and the degradation of women and religion. This group's mission was to establish a complete breakdown of America's values, to enslave us into a cloned nation of mind-controlled robotoids. To jumpstart the program, they hired Edward Bernays. Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud and was dubbed the father of public relations. He wrote 3 books, Crystallizing Public Opinion, Propaganda, and the Engineering of Consent. Bernays believed people were so irrational, and he believed so strongly in crowd psychology, that he could convince masses of people.
My AirPlay would not work right now while I'm trying to stream this. It's so suspicious. I hate it. I hate it. We just don't know who's watching us and who's taking note of our likes and dislikes and using them to sell us shit. Oh well, I'm getting kind of tired. My back hurts. It's crazy that you've found me. Thank you for subscribing or whatever, or following me. I'm a little stoned and this is not gonna... Oh! Is it gonna work? That'd be crazy. It says it's working. It's not working. It works when I'm not trying to stream. I've noticed that things that don't work very well when you're trying to stream. I tried to watch that movie The Witch. I don't know if you've seen that movie The Witch, but that shit's pretty crazy. Oh, that was on D-Live though. Why does it say it's working? It's not. That's fucked. Maybe because it's not playing.
Our Tavistock story begins in the late 1880s with Arthur Sharep Spiridovich.
There we go. Yeah, baby. I think Critter's still here. Sorry, Critter. This was
a white Russian loyalist who was anti-communist.
That I couldn't get this to work.
He was a Russian general and claimed to be well-versed in international affairs and predicted huge world events. In 1902, he warned kings and dukes about future assassination attempts, and he was right. He also predicted the First World War due to his knowledge about the hidden hand, in which he called a secret group of 300 Jewish families controlling the world.
Oops. And this chick is Amy Says WTF with no spaces on BitChute.
Events. Spiridovich emigrated to New York and wrote the book Secret World Government. He was found dead in his hotel room in 1926 at the age of 59 from suicide. So who was this secret group of Jews? Spiridovich was talking about the Committee of 300. Walter Rathenau, a German politician, once stated, 300 men, all of whom know one another, guide the economic destinies of the continent and seek their successors from within their own environment. Dr. John Coleman was a British intelligence officer who gained access to a private British museum in London. It was here that Coleman discovered the highly classified documents of Tavistock. It angered him so much, he spent 5 years reading and deciphering them and wrote the book, the Tavistock Institution of Human Relations.
I wish I had a boop sound that I could put over the name Tavistock, but I can't.
Shaping the moral, spiritual, cultural, political, and economic decline of the United States
A curse
of America.
pause. Beep.
Tavistock was secretly started in 1913 and was funded by the British monarchy, the Milner Group, the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds. Tavistock's first purpose was to create propaganda to start a war between Britain and Germany. The motivation behind the war was inspired by Germany's rapid progress on surpassing Britain with economic power. Tavistock's second purpose was to infiltrate America by establishing a centralized bank, removing the gold standard, and the degradation of women and religion. This group's mission was to establish a complete breakdown of America's values, to enslave us into a cloned nation of mind-controlled robotoids. To jumpstart the program, they hired Edward Bernays. Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud and was dubbed the father of public relations.
I learned about
He
this
wrote
guy
3
in
books,
advertising
Crystallizing Public Opinion,
classes.
Propaganda, and the Engineering of Consent. Bernays believed people were so irrational, and he believed so strongly in crowd psychology, that he could convince masses of people to do almost anything. Edward Bernays was a Tavistock coach and advisor to President Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson ran and won the presidency on the promise that he would keep America out of war. But with the infiltration of Bernays, he persuaded Congress to declare war on Germany and started the First World War. And on December 23, 1913, while all Americans were ready to celebrate Christmas, Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act, a law that created the Federal Reserve System, the central banking system of the United States.
They all kind of look
This
like,
led to effectively
come
abolishing
on, do
the
it,
gold standard.
or yeah, he's
It was now
Here it
1933, and Tavistock's
They all
mission
just
was
look
already
like they
50%
knew
complete.
they were gonna be fine.
The Central Bank of America was responsible for the Great Depression and the global financial crisis of 2007. The Federal Reserve violates constitutional law because their policymakers are handpicked by people who are behind the Federal Reserve. Their meetings are secret, and there is no transparency to what they are doing to the public. In 1932, an outspoken critic of the Federal Reserve, Louis T. McFadden, said, "We have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board and Bank. This evil institution has impoverished and ruined the people of the United States through the corrupt practices of money vultures who control it." After the wars and the establishment of the central bank, America started to see moral decline through what historians call the new morality, or otherwise known as the birth of liberalism. It was Ronald Reagan that once said, "If fascism ever came to America, it will come in the name of liberalism." In the 20s, known as the decade of decadence, we saw the emergence of the flapper. Women were now cursing, smoking, drinking, wearing revealing clothing, and the term loose entered into the zeitgeist. This was a cause and effect directly from advertising and music, which was pushed from Tavistock think tanks. In the 1930s, homosexuality and lesbianism became rampant, not out of any inner or latent desires, but as a means to shock the old establishment during the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, the nation was numb. G.K. Chesterton, a writer and philosopher, said, "The moral, spiritual, racial, economic, cultural bankruptcy we are in today is not some social phenomenon, but rather the outcome of a carefully planned Tavistock program." The birth of MIT, the National Institute of Mental Health, Stanford Research Center, and the Wharton School of Economics were founded by Dr. Kurt Lewin, John Rawlings Rees, and Margaret Mead, arguably the best Tavistock social engineers of all time. Believe it or not, through the minds of these leaders came the brainwashing and propaganda for World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War, the 2 Gulf Wars, and every war that has followed after.
Margaret Mead.
Maurice Strong, a Canadian oil and businessman, was the president of Canada's Power Corporation, pushing the climate change agenda in the 1960s. What you may not know is that Maurice was also a big power player in Tavistock's social engineering machine, and he held the Conference of 1980. He gathered occult think tankers, social engineers, cybernetic experts, and futurologists to discuss what they wanted to see happen in the 1980s. Here is a list for the Tavistock Conference of 1980. Women entering the corporate world, racially mixed breeding, the rise of Oprah Winfrey to normalize mixed marriage, youth rebellion, lesbian moms, the emergence of the fake green movement, stressing the importance of meditation and Kabbalah to confuse Christians, the infiltration of hip-hop with gangster rap, and the New Age movement. So what do you think, America? Were they successful in the 1980s? It's amazing, isn't it? Do you think it's a coincidence that we started calling America the homeland after 9/11? And Showtime popularized the show Homeland. Did you know that the word homeland comes straight out of the Communist Manifesto? These social scientist wizards understand you better than you understand yourself. They can profile any audience to accept lies, and they know you won't even question it. Unless, of course, you have broken your programming. When we think of the word intelligence, we usually think Mossad, CIA, MI6, but never do we think Tavistock. Did you know that the majority of CIA and MI6 operatives get their training at Tavistock? Here is a list of what they learn: metaphysics, mind control, behavior modification strategy, ESP, hypnotism, esoteric knowledge, Satanism, and Manichaean theology, which is understanding the duality of good and evil. According to Dr. Coleman, the best kept secret and research that came out of Tavistock is the three-system response. The three-system response is how the population reacts to stress resulting from a contrived situation. Contrived situation is a crisis management exercise for world leaders. An example of a contrived situation was the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. During a crisis, the first response is superficiality, which is the condition that manifests when a group reacts to a threat by adopting shallow advertising and slogans, which they attempt to pass off as ideals. Because the cause of the crisis is not identified, it leaves the population confused, and this phase can last as long as the controller wants it to. The second phase is called fragmentation, in which panic strikes and social cohesion falls apart. This results in society to break up into small groups, forming different attitudes and beliefs due to media manipulation. No one is on the same page, no one is getting the truth, and people become divided. This causes civil unrest, protests, and verbal fights, all caused by humans failing to identify the cause of the crisis. The third phase is called the fantasy trip. This is what Tavistock calls dissociation. In this last phase of the psychological operation, people have been so traumatized from the false flag event, they block it out, lose interest, and all hope in humanity. This dissociation causes people to allow their liberties to get taken away, which ushers in communist legislation without a fight. Julius Caesar once said, "Divide and conquer." The powers that be have been using contrived situations and false flag events to shock and traumatize the world since the beginning of time. All of these things had crisis actors, and you can even research that one. Do you think all of these shootings at schools, post offices, churches, concerts, and shopping malls were just a coincidence? According to Dr. Coleman, they were carried out by mind control subjects who were carefully profiled, sought after, and put on dangerous mood-altering drugs like Ritalin, and controlled by DARPA computer programmers. Remember the national story about Molly Tibbetts, a jogger who disappeared for a month and was found dead in a cornfield from Iowa? At first, her alleged killer said that he heard voices in his head, and that the media had a heyday with him saying that. Now, you cannot find that anywhere on the internet. Did you know that Molly Tibbetts' dad was an architect for the Clinton Foundation? He actually designed the orphanages in Haiti. And if you do a quick internet search of killers who hear voices, it is astonishing. And I also recommend the book Programmed to Kill by David McGowan. When I think about what has happened to women in America, it is easy to see how it has been done in hindsight. From the flappers to pornography, we can see that Tavistock is really good at what they do. Remember 50 Shades of Grey? This was another mind control experiment that you could do in your own bedroom. The pain and fear that comes with sadomasochistic sex causes the brain to push blood away from its executive decision-making area, the frontal cortex, which results in an altered state of consciousness in both the giver and the receiver, like doing cocaine. Do you ever wonder why certain books or movies get propped up? This always raises a red flag for me. Herbert Hoover was the 31st president of the United States. He was a Republican and was reluctant to become involved with the Federal Reserve. He believed in strengthening American business and believed that individual reliance on banks would weaken the economy. There is speculation from Dr. Coleman that his reluctance caused the stock market crash of 1929, which led America into the Great Depression, as a punishment to him and the American people. Tavistock engineered the Cuban Missile Crisis as an attempt to sell the FEMA program to John F. Kennedy. It was another rejection by Kennedy, and he died that same year. Tavistock immediately signed a contract with NASA to ramp up public opinion on space. Ronald Reagan was another president who was reluctant to fall in line, and there was an assassination attempt on him. During Reagan's presidency, the committee had a secret meeting to make sure after his presidency that they remained in control with their candidates of their choice. George Herbert Walker Bush was next in line. He was former director of the CIA and the vice president to Ronald Reagan. He was a member of Skull and Bones at Yale and was married to Barbara Bush, who keeps fetuses in a jar in her home and who is allegedly Alistair Reagan's daughter.
That's a little
or
crazy
son,
sounding.
by a striking resemblance. Bush gave the famous New World Order speech following the Gulf War of 1991. And next we had Rhodes Scholar Bill Clinton, then George W. Bush, and then Barack Obama. With these presidents came even more social engineering, false flags, and corruption at the highest levels. John Coleman once said, "We have been brainwashed into believing that communism is the greatest danger we Americans are facing. This is simply not so. The greatest danger arises from the mass of traitors in our midst. Our Constitution warns us to be watchful of the enemy within our gates. These enemies are the servants of the Committee of 300 who occupy high positions within our governmental structure. The United States is where we must begin our fight to turn back the tide threatening to engulf us, and where we must meet and defeat these internal conspirators." Trump was the most difficult president for Tavistock. He was discussed in a couple of Tavistock journals written by James McKay, the director for Tavistock Coaching. In 2016, he expressed concern that based on Trump's personality, he would be very difficult to coach. And in 2018, he discussed how Trump is like a trickster. Is this a confession that Trump was not falling in line? Another modern goal of the Committee of 300 is the emergence of the technotronic era. In the book Between Two Ages by Brzezinski, he says, "The technotronic era involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled society. Such a society would be dominated by an elite, unrestrained by traditional values. Soon it will be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date complete files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities." The Beatles might be one of the biggest psychological operations ever played on the world. The Beatles were part of the counterculture, pushing rock music and LSD in the 1960s. The baby boomers fell in love with them, along with the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, and other folk artists of that time. What people may not know is that there was a man by the name of Theodore Adorno, who allegedly wrote all of the Beatles songs. Theodore was born in 1903 and died in 1969, right before the Beatles broke up in 1970. According to the Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, he claimed that the Beatles were a terrible band that could hardly play their instruments. He claimed that they were semi-illiterate when it came to music. When the Beatles catalog was put up for sale, it was purchased by Michael Jackson. There was much ado about why Paul McCartney was not able to own the music himself. This is because Paul did not own the rights to the music. He did not write the music. Theodore Adorno's estate owned the songs, and it was the estate of Theodore Adorno that sold the catalog to Michael Jackson. John Lennon knew about the corruption and was completely aware of what was going on. He knew what he was a part of and started voicing his opinion about it.
I hate Chrome.
He called the men who controlled the world psychopaths, and in return was called a loose cannon. During a Playboy interview, Lennon discussed the unforeseen liberal impact LSD was having on human civilization, and that the powers that be were up to massive social manipulation schemes. We all know the fate of John Lennon didn't last long when he was gunned down in front of his apartment by a Manchurian candidate, Mark David Chapman, ordered by George H.W. Bush. It has been written that the CIA forced Yoko Ono to keep gravitating Lennon towards the social fringe, and that she was a program multiple herself. Today, people are still distracted with what the elite call the bread and circuses of baseball.
Sonic rage quit after 10 minutes because everybody was being themselves, their dickish selves, and being an asshole to him, or what? Calling him a simp and I don't know what else they would call him now. That's a shame. I mean, shit, he's pissed off that guy's ski mask.
Who was anti-communist.
Oh my god.
He was a Russian general and claimed to be well versed in international affairs.
Oh my god, what happened? Chat was saying, yeah, exactly. Okay, that's what I would probably be worried about too. Man, I don't know what he was thinking. If he would have talked to me and asked me, I'd have been like, no, don't do that. Don't take that deal. Not at all. What the hell happened, man? Dude, now I'm falling apart. Oh, there we go. Kittens. Did you like the kittens? 9 minutes? No. Yeah, that sounds right, actually.
In this last phase of the psychological operation, people have been so traumatized from the false flag event, they block it out, lose interest, and all hope in humanity. This dissociation causes people to allow their liberties to be taken away, which ushers in communist legislation without a fight. Julius Caesar once said, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
The powers that be have been using contrived situations and false flag events to shock and traumatize the world since the beginning of time.
You seem like
all of these things have crisis actors, and you can even
caring a little bit. Caring, like.
Do you think all of these shootings at schools, post offices, churches, concerts, and shopping malls were just a coincidence?
These days.
According to Dr. Coleman, they were carried out by mind-controlled subjects who were carefully
approachable, really
sought after, and put on dangerous mood-altering drugs like Ritalin, and controlled by DARPA computer programmers. Remember the national story about Molly Tibbetts, a jogger who disappeared for a month and was found dead in a cornfield from Iowa?
It's kind of like strippers. Like,
at first, her alleged killer said...
They say that strippers were raped as a kid or something to make them so, like, the way they are or whatever. It's like the stereotype, you know? Oh, I lost my train of thought. God damn it, weed. To become a streamer, you gotta have some kind of, a little bit of mental illness, probably.
That he heard voices in his head, and that the media had a heyday with him saying that. Now, you cannot find that anywhere on the internet. Did you know that Molly Tibbetts' dad was an architect for the Clinton Foundation? He actually designed the orphanages.
Well, not all of them, but the ones out there.
And if you do a quick internet search of killers who hear voices,
there's some mental illness going on.
And I also recommend the book Programmed to Kill by David McGowan. When I think about what has happened to women in America, it is easy to see how it has been done in hindsight. From the flappers to pornography, we can see that Tavistock is really good at what they do. Remember
What
50
the
Shades
heck?
of Grey? This was another mind control experiment that you could do in your own bedroom. The pain and fear that comes with sadomasochistic sex causes the brain to push blood away from its executive decision-making area, the frontal cortex, which results in an altered state of consciousness in both the giver and the receiver, like doing cocaine. Do you ever wonder why certain books or movies get propped up?
Oh, that's true.
This always raises a red flag for me. Herbert Hoover was the 31st president of the United States. He was a Republican and was reluctant to become involved with the Federal Reserve. He believed in strengthening American business and believed that individual reliance on banks would weaken the economy. There is speculation from Dr. Coleman that his reluctance caused the stock market crash of 1929, which led America into the Great Depression, as a punishment to him and the American people. Tavistock engineered the Cuban Missile Crisis as an attempt to sell the FEMA program to John F. Kennedy. It was
These
another
people just
rejection by Kennedy,
came up with
and
all
he
kinds
died
of
that same
ideas
year.
over the years, it seems like.
Tavistock immediately signed a contract with NASA to ramp up public opinion on
I'm getting
space.
kind of uncomfortable with
Ronald
how
Reagan
much
was another
saying the
president
name
who was
of the...
reluctant to fall in line,
the
and there was
firm.
an assassination attempt on him. During Reagan's presidency, the committee had a secret meeting to make sure after his presidency that they remained in control with their
That's
candidates
crazy.
of their
He's wearing a
choice.
suit, holding
George
an
Herbert
Uzi.
Walker Bush was next in line. He was former director of the CIA
In real
and the
life?
vice president to Ronald Reagan. He was a member of Skull and Bones at Yale and was married to Barbara Bush, who keeps fetuses in a jar in her home and who is allegedly Aleister
That's so
Crowley's
funny.
daughter, or son, by a striking resemblance. Bush gave the famous New
Alright,
World
this is
Order
pretty
speech
conspiracy
following the
theory
Gulf War of
type shit.
1991. And next we had Rhodes Scholar Bill Clinton, then George W. Bush, and then Barack Obama. With these presidents came even more social engineering, false flags, and corruption at the highest levels. John Coleman once said, "We have been brainwashed into believing that communism is the greatest danger we Americans are facing. This is simply not so. The greatest danger
Speaking, keep
arises
saying he
from
got
the mass of
cellulitis.
traitors in our midst. Our Constitution warns us to be watchful
I
of
think
the
it's the
enemy
same
within our
thing
gates.
as MRSA.
These enemies are the servants of the Committee of 300 who occupy high positions within our governmental
Seems
structure.
like he doesn't want
The
to say he
United
got
States
MRSA.
is where we must begin our fight to turn back the tide threatening to engulf us, and where we must meet and defeat these internal conspirators." Trump was the most difficult president for Tavistock. He was discussed in a couple of Tavistock journals written by James McKay, the director for Tavistock Coaching. In 2016, he expressed concern that based on Trump's personality, he would be very difficult to coach. And in 2018, he discussed how Trump is like a trickster. Is this a confession that Trump was not falling in line? Another modern goal of the Committee of 300 is the emergence of the technotronic era. In the book Between Two Ages by Brzezinski, he says, "The technotronic era involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled society. Such a society would be dominated by an elite, unrestrained by traditional values. Soon it will be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date complete files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities." The Beatles might be one of the biggest psychological operations ever played on the world.
You think those Ring doorbells you got
The Beatles were part of the counterculture, pushing rock music and LSD
when everybody
in
in the whole neighborhood has one?
The baby boomers fell in love with them, along with the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, and other folk
and you get
artists
caught
of that
doing
time.
some weird shit on the
What people
Ring
may
doorbell?
not know is that there was a man by the name of Theodore Adorno who allegedly wrote all of the Beatles songs.
What the?
Theodore was born in 1903 and died in 1969, right before the Beatles broke up in 1970.
That lady.
According to the Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, he claimed that the Beatles were a terrible band that could hardly play their instruments. He claimed that they were semi-illiterate when it came to music. When the Beatles catalog was put up for sale, it was purchased by Michael Jackson. There was much ado about why Paul McCartney was not able to own the music himself. This is because Paul did not own the rights to the music. He did not write the music. Theodore Adorno's estate owned the songs, and it was
Michael
the estate
Jackson
of Theodore
did.
Adorno that sold the catalog to Michael Jackson.
Paul McCartney too.
John Lennon knew
I
about
don't
the
know, I probably heard
corruption
some
and was
of it.
completely aware of what was going on.
You know, over the years.
He knew what he was a part of and started
I listened
voicing
to
his
music
opinion about it.
for,
He called the
I
men
was
who
really
controlled
into
the
music.
world
It seems weird to
psychopaths,
say,
and in return was called
because I didn't even
Oluscan.
like play instruments or
During
anything.
a
But
Playboy
I was
interview,
really into
Lennon
finding
discussed
new
the
music and
unforeseen
stuff for a
liberal
long
impact
time.
LSD was having on human
Some
civilization,
years back.
and that the powers that be were up to massive social manipulation schemes.
I don't know.
We all
Maybe
know
I
the
maybe
fate
I
of John
have
Lennon
heard it.
didn't
It's an
last long when he
experimental
was
one.
gunned down in front of his apartment
That's
by a
cool.
Manchurian candidate, Mark David Chapman, ordered by George
Yeah, I don't know if I
Bush.
believe. She
It has
said
been
that
written
one
the
guy
CIA
wrote all the
forced
Beatles.
Yoko Ono to
Yeah,
keep
right.
gravitating Lennon towards the social fringe,
That
and
would
that
be
she
crazy.
was a program multiple herself. Today, people are still distracted
Ugh,
with
that
what the
lady
elite
gives me the
call the
fucking
bread and
creeps, man.
circuses of baseball,
Yoko's
football,
creepy as
endless
fuck.
Hollywood, and Social Security. Nothing has changed. The program is so good. If you were to try and explain this to someone, they would think
I like
you
doing
are
the
crazy. That is how
kitties.
good the programming is. Because after all, if you don't program your mind, someone will program it for you. And it makes me remember the Tavistock whistleblower, Arthur Sharep Spiritovich, the man who took his own life at the age of 59. Or did he? Did he know too much? In 2021, looking back, it seems to me that he knew a lot. The Tavistock Institute is unique because it has the independence of being entirely self-financing, with no subsidies from the government or other sources. Its range of disciplines include anthropology, economics, organizational behavior, political science, psychoanalysis, psychology, and
Check my
sociology.
machine.
The ideology of American foundations was
That's
created
tight.
by the
I'll check it out.
Tavistock
Check
Institute
my
of Human
machine.
Relations in London. In 1921, the Duke of Bedford Marquess of Tavistock, the 11th Duke, gave a building to the Institute to study the effect of shell shock on British soldiers who survived World War I. Its purpose was to establish the breaking point of men under stress, under the direction of the British Army Bureau of Psychological Warfare. When American evangelical E. Grandison Finney became a minister, he realized he needed to create a disturbing sermon through fear, shock, and emotion to heighten suggestibility in his people. Finney began to deliver sermons loudly, filled with emotion, and this was the birth of evangelism. It also became known as the Boston.
What the
Finney
heck?
began to deliver sermons.
Damn it. That didn't work. I tried though. This is nature here. Ooh, nature.
Men, exemplified in hysterical rants, which made it very clear that these men were more interested in making a dollar than actually helping anyone. Finney's techniques inspired the creation of the Children of God Church in the 1960s. The Children of God cult promoted
Lil
pedophilia
Bat
and
is an
mind control.
evangelic? I guess so.
The Children
Now
of
he
God
is.
cult was protected by the Chilean dictator
I don't really know much about
at
him.
the time. River and Joaquin Phoenix were members of this cult as children.
I've
River
heard about
revealed
this.
as a child that he was forced
Children
to have
of
sex
God?
with adults
Look, he
when
had
he
the
was
young
just
hair
4 years
lip.
old. Rose
His brother.
McGowan was another victim of this cult. Another cult group called The Family in Australia
The
was
Family.
created by Anne Hamilton Byrne. Anne claimed to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ living under a master who came to Earth. The children who were under her supervision were frequently dosed with psychiatric drugs and isolated from each other. This technique is reminiscent of MKUltra, Project Monarch, and other CIA-controlled illegal experiments. Julian Assange was a member when he was a child. Psychologist
He
Sigmund
first sniped
Freud
as a
settled
burger
in
buddy.
Maresfield Gardens when he moved to England.
Then was
He was
an
given a
EBC
mansion by
chat
Princess
as
Bonaparte.
Roach, then started hanging out
Tavistock's
with the lab
pioneer
named
work
Captain.
in behavioral science
And
along
an
Freudian
SJC
lines
mod.
of controlling humans
Huh.
established it as the world center of
Yeah,
foundation
that's how these things
ideology.
go, it seems like.
Tavistock's network is now extended through Stanford Research Institute, MIT, Hudson Institute, Center of Strategic and International Studies,
John Coleman.
and the Heritage Foundation.
I watch a John Coleman.
The Center of Strategic and International Studies at Georgetown is where members of the
I don't
State
know
Department,
if Lil
US
Bat's
Air
thing
Force,
is serious
and
or
the
not.
Rand
Who knows,
Corporation
you know?
are required to
I can't tell
undergo
with these streamers
indoctrination under the Tavistock Institute.
what their grift is,
Two other secret
or
groups
who they
are the
yeah.
American Ditchley Foundation and the Mont Pelerin Society are other conduits for instructions to the Tavistock network.
Oh,
The Tavistock Institute developed the mass...
let's hear this. Oh. Come on.
brainwashing techniques which were first used on American prisoners of the war in Korea. These brainwashing techniques have been widely used on the public in efforts to modify individual behavior through topical psychology. Kurt Lewin, a German, became director of Tavistock in 1932. He came to the U.S. in 1933 as a refugee, the first of many infiltrators, and set up the Harvard Psychology Clinic, which originated the propaganda campaign to turn the American public against Germany and to get us into World War II. In 1938, Roosevelt executed a secret agreement with Churchill, which in effect ceded U.S. sovereignty to England because it agreed to let special operations executive control U.S. policies. To implement this agreement, Roosevelt sent General Donovan to London for indoctrination before setting up the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which is now the CIA. The entire OSS program, as well as the CIA, has always worked on guidelines set up by the Tavistock Institute. Tavistock Institute originated the mass civilian bombing raids carried out by Roosevelt and Churchill purely as a critical experiment in mass
funny
terror.
How serious he's become.
All Tavistock and American Foundation techniques have one single goal: to break down the psychological strength of the individual and force them to surrender to the New World Order.
For it.
The methods of Freudian psychotherapy induce permanent mental illness in those who undergo this treatment by destabilizing their character. The victim is then advised to establish new rituals of personal interaction. That is, to indulge in brief sexual encounters which actually set the participants adrift with no stable personal relationships in their lives, destroying their ability to establish or maintain a family. Another prominent Tavistock operation is the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania. They are also connected with NASA. The infamous MKUltra program involved dosing unsuspecting citizens with LSD, and their adverse reactions were studied as if they were guinea pigs. These experiments resulted in mental illness and death. All of this information came out, trials were had, but there was no justice to what had been done. Sandoz AG, a Swiss drug company, developed LSD, and this company was owned by S.G. Warburg. Roosevelt's advisor, James Paul Warburg, was the son of Paul Warburg, who wrote the Federal Reserve Act and helped set up Tavistock. See how this all connects? Another key component to Tavistock is the Ditchley Foundation, founded in 1957. The American branch of Ditchley is run by the Rockefellers and the Council on Foreign Relations. They are dubbed Through the Looking Glass. Interesting nickname, I would say.
That's better.
Tavistock was created and operated solely for the purpose to bring in a new world order over the American people. The Rockefeller Foundation also has its tentacles in controlling world agriculture. They control programs throughout...
I forget what it is. It's like a math... Oh, shit. Why did I fucking do that? It's like a math equation thing. Or no. Wait, what is it? I don't know what it is. But it's like... I think the way they explained it is they zoomed in on... I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's really trippy. And you can see that there's this one little figure in this picture, in every picture. And it's weird shape that looks like a bug. And they have this. They put these codes into a computer to zoom in on it, and somehow it like zooms in almost infinitely. I don't know. It's kind of a really boring thing, to be honest. I don't know why I'm showing it. I just like it. This is boring, brainy shit. So.
Exemplified in hysterical rants, which made it very clear that these men were more interested in making $1 than actually helping
No, not
anyone.
the Fibonacci sequence.
Finney's
It's called the
techniques
Mandelbrot
inspired
set.
the creation of the Children of God Church in the 1960s. The Children of God cult promoted pedophilia and mind control. The Children of God cult was protected by the Chilean dictator Pinochet at the time. River and Joaquin Phoenix were members of this cult as children. River revealed as a child that he was forced to have sex with adults when he was just 4 years old. Rose McGowan was another victim of this cult.
That's fucked.
Another cult group called the Family
What up?
in Australia
Zoom.
was created by Anne Hamilton
It's
Burr.
cool. It is cool.
Anne
It's a
claimed
weird
to
thing.
be the
It's
reincarnation
almost like
of Jesus Christ.
It's like, damn, I already watched this part. You can't really explain. I can't really explain what the Mandelbrot set is. I watched a whole fucking 2 documentaries, I think, on the shit, and they just said it's like a computer generated figure that you zoom in on it and the computer creates more of it till it, I don't even really see. I don't know. It's such a confusing,
Living under a master who came to
psychedelic
Earth.
ass trippy thing.
The children who were under her supervision were frequently dosed with psychiatric drugs and isolated from each other. This technique is reminiscent of MKUltra, Project Monarch, and other CIA-controlled MIT, Hudson, and the instruction visual behavior through topical psychology to undergo indoctrination under the Tavistock Institute. 2 other secret groups are the American Ditchley Foundation and the Mont Pelerin Society.
I sound like Duncan
are other
Trussell.
conduits
What a
for
trip.
instructions to the Tavistock Network. The Tavistock Institute developed the mass brainwashing techniques which were first used on American prisoners of the war in Korea. These brainwashing techniques have been widely used on the public in efforts to modify individual behavior through topical psychology. Kurt Lewin, a German, became director of Tavistock in 1932. He came to the U.S. in 1933 as a refugee, the first of many infiltrators, and set up the Harvard Psychology Clinic, which originated the propaganda campaign to turn the American public against Germany and to get us into World War II. In 1938, Roosevelt executed a secret agreement with Churchill, which in effect ceded U.S. sovereignty to England because it agreed to let special operations executive control
There's only 3 more
U.S.
minutes
policies.
of this, and then I'm gonna log off.
To implement this agreement, Roosevelt sent General
Thanks for
Donovan
coming
to
by,
London
guys.
for indoctrination before setting up the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which is now the CIA. The entire OSS program, as well as the CIA...
I think it would be funny to go out and do IRL and say that I'm a targeted individual. Ask people to help me out with things or something.
CIA has always worked on guidelines
Or
set
meet
up by
other
the
targeted
Tavistock
individuals, and then
Tavistock Institute
I'll cut
originated
the
mass
shit.
civilian bombing
I'll
raids
cut the
carried
shit
out
and
by
I'll just be
Roosevelt
like,
and Churchill,
tell me
purely
about-
as a
tell
clinical
me about
experiment in
this
mass
shit.
terror. All Tavistock and
Yeah, that's a
American
good one,
Foundation
huh?
techniques have one single goal: to break down the psychological strength of the individual and force them to surrender to the New World Order. The methods of Freudian psychotherapy induce permanent mental illness in those who undergo this treatment by destabilizing their character. The victim is then advised to establish new rituals of personal interaction. That is, to indulge in brief sexual encounters which actually set the participants adrift with no stable personal relationships in their lives, destroying their ability to establish or maintain a family. Another prominent Tavistock operation is the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania. They are also connected with NASA.
is he gonna be in LA tomorrow?
The
Fuck.
infamous MKUltra program involved
Dude.
dosing unsuspecting citizens with LSD.
Are you sure
and their
about that?
adverse reactions were studied as if they were guinea pigs. These experiments resulted in mental illness and death.
Fuck.
All of this information came out. Trials were had, but there
He
was
called
no
me Lou the
justice
Poo Dude
to what
or
had
something
been
like
done.
that on a stream earlier.
Sandoz AG,
I don't know
a
if
Swiss
maybe I
drug
should
company,
confront him.
developed LSD, and this company was owned by S.G. Warburg.
Yeah, I figured he was coming to
Roosevelt's
LA.
advisor, James
Oh, Carl's
Paul Warburg,
targeted,
was the
alright.
son of Paul Warburg, who wrote the Federal Reserve Act and helped set up Tavistock. See how this all connects? Another key component to Tavistock is the ditch.
I think if I saw Carl, I would just stare at him like this. Just look at him from like far away. And then just follow him slowly for a while. And just keep showing up in the back, like looking at him, watching him.
Foundation.
That's how I imagine.
1957.
Yeah,
The
Carl
American
talked
branch
poo on
of
my
Ditchley
name. Yeah,
is run by
exactly.
the Rockefellers and the Council on Foreign Relations.
Fuck that.
They are dubbed Through the Looking Glass.
I shouldn't put up with that shit.
Interesting nickname, I would say. Tavistock was created and operated solely for the purpose to bring in a New World Order over the American people. The Rockefeller Foundation also has its tentacles in controlling world agriculture. They control programs throughout Mexico and Latin America. The independent farmer is a threat to the New World Order. These think tanks are responsible for brainwashing, indoctrination, and mind control, and are still strong and operating today. I will leave you with that to do your own critical thinking. Until then, stay safe out there, and don't stop questioning the world around you.
Maybe that's good advice. Look at that's Amy says what the F. WTF. No spaces on BitChute. And on Twitter. And on Instagram. Did this? Oh, okay. Carl in LA tomorrow. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, good night, guys.